Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you again for letting me present today. Thank you everyone for being here. And I'm here to discuss my senior capstone proposal presentation, which is crowdfunding as a new frontier for indie game development. Just an overview of myself. I am Saianne Williams. I transferred in from the Leeward Community College Waianamoku campus where I received my associates. I was a part of my high school's largest early college cohort. It's something I'm really proud of. I graduated from Waianae High School in 2021, and I am currently a creative media major with a concentration in video game development and design. Just a summary for the presentation. We're going to be going over the thesis statement, then the objective and rationale for the research, my capstone plans, and then the significance of my project. So my thesis was, or is, crowdfunding and its positive impact on the video game market by providing independent developers with necessary funding, fostering community engagement, and diversifying game content. The objective for my research was to better understand why crowdfunding has become so popular and so instrumental for so many indie game companies. As of late, there have been many letdowns in the AAA game community. I'm sure that many people have their own stories of purchasing an expensive game and having it be a buggy mess or just disappointing in general. This has seen many players turn their attention towards more indie games than ever before. Some shining outliers are like Helldivers 2 and Lethal Company, both of which are ridiculously fun and have been created by indie developers. We can also see games that have grown after overwhelming support at the crowdfunding level, like Puff Pow Island Skies, of which I am actually an investor in. My capstone plans include working and developing a game or game demos centered around what it takes to develop and create a game while using crowdfunding as a financing, playtesting, and interacting method. This includes creating a concept portfolio and then making a playable game. I plan on getting in touch with indie game companies to find out more about their experience and try to create their process of creating games while using crowdfunding as a main financial source. For the significance, oftentimes consumers can forget that the content they consume doesn't just appear out of thin air. This is especially so with video games and other media forms of similar categories. The project aims to share what so many players don't really see or think about. And the second significance is to illuminate how big of a difference people can make when they decide to invest in games when they are trying to crowdfund, even if the reward may seem so far. Going over some of the data that we found, we look at this bar chart, we see that since developers are getting better support from being funded by the individuals that want to play their games, the number of indie games are increasing. This is feeding an already growing market. This is especially important because so many people want and do buy indie games when they get released, but without the funding from the investors, they wouldn't have the funds to do so. So if we're looking at the bar graph, about 75% of players do end up buying indie game titles. 40% of that 75% invest in these games because of the creativity they put forth. 39% want to just try something new and almost always end up enjoying what they find. And 33% find that it's a lower price point. So they're not really upset if it's not what they're looking to get into, but it also is an incentive to buy more games because it's lower in price. My target audience, the topic applies to game developers as a way to make them feel seen or as an idea of what they can expect, but it also targets players because they are a big part of the crowd of people who are making it possible for these games to be made. So our top target audience is indie game developers. We want them to kind of understand what it would be like if they want to go through crowdfunding as their financial form. And then the second and third are people in their 20s and 30s, and then also people in their late teens. We consider these people our target audience because these are the people who will become investors. We see a lot more people investing from younger ages because they want to see that their investment and their money that they're investing has an impact on the games that they see on the market. And then my proposed solution is by bringing awareness to how these indie games are being funded and stressing the importance of small investors, there's a hope that more indie games will be available or will be able to secure the funding that they need to be made. And then I go really deep into the preparation and process. I looked how long the semester was and I kind of step-by-stepped it so that I have a better understanding because I am a very structured person. The pre would be from the beginning of the semester until September 7th. This is developing the game and starting the game design document, projecting about 1 week for the initial idea incubation, with the second week being dedicated to fleshing out ideas. This is when I would reach out to those indie game companies to try to collect some of their experiences. Stage 1 would be finding/creating the majority of the assets, and then finding tutorials for things that are not yet known. Stage 2 would be gray boxing in the game inside the development software for the first level, and then the first round of playtesting, which would start on the 26th and end on the 18th or the 28th. We want to give the ability to be able to create something and then playtest it in a short period of time so that we can get the feedback and then move on, which brings us into our third stage. We're going to be using the feedback from playtesting to improve the level or the game as a whole. Mostly because the first level of playtesting is highly, what's the word? It's based on theory almost, because we're going to be looking mostly at the game document and then looking at how the gray boxing has already set up the world, mostly because we want our players who would be around probably my peers or friends, and get their feedback, see what they think is working, see what isn't working, and then use that to positively improve the game. And then after we get that feedback to improve it, we are gray boxing the next 2 levels, which is why this third stage is so large. It's from September 29th to October 19th. And then the second round of playtesting starts on the October 10th and ends on the 12th. Then we move into stage 4, which is October 20th through November 9th. And we're using the playtesting results to improve the levels. And then we start inputting assets into levels 1 through 3. And then playtesting round 3 starts around November 7th and ends on the 9th. And then as we work into stage 5, we're continuing refining all 3 levels, last minute fixes and changes to assets. Final round of playtesting starts on the 9th or the 18th and ends on the 21st. Unlike our previous stages, playtesting starts a little earlier and ends a little earlier, mostly because we want to use this last round of playtesting to get final feedback on top of the game as a whole. And then we'll have the ability to make any changes that need to be made. And then stage 6 is the compiling of all playtesting data for a presentation and compiling the presentation as well as completing the concept portfolio. It is important for the concept portfolio to be a full-rounded aspect because it goes hand in hand with the game. And then we are submitting for final grading and feedback. And then the post step is delivering a final project and other deliverables. And these deliverables primarily is the game, which is a visual novel that properly portrays what it is like for indie developers who are trying to get their work out using crowdfunding as their method of financing. And then the secondary deliverable is a complete concept portfolio that catalogs the meaning behind characters, locations, items, and other aspects of the game and the story it tells. And that's it. Any questions?